good.
You have to let me know.
Yes.
You are watching the Pan African Daily TV with Dr. Susan Tata. The Africa we want: unity, consciousness, our culture, our spirituality, our history. One Africa for Africans worldwide. Motherlands calling its diaspora home. Join my voice. Join my team. Join my campaign. Campaign 21 hashtag 1 million subscribers on the Pan African Daily TV YouTube. Be a volunteer. Apply now. Be the new Africa.
After centuries of misguidance caused by slavery, colonization, lack of awareness of our history, and institutional disinformation, a new Africa is on the move, determined and getting organized. Afrika tuko pamoja. Welcome to the United Kingdoms of Great Africa. The United Kingdoms of Great Africa is the credo of the alliance movement of all African intelligences around a common ideal: the unity and development of a strong, conquering, and completely dedogmatized Africa through the channel of a strong organization called the Africa We Want Global. You are an African, Afro-descendant, researcher, historian, scientist, or simply an NGO. You want to be part of this great historical march towards the total freedom of an uninhibited Africa? Visit our website www.africawewantglobal.org. Register and discover the range of our platforms for change. AfricaWeWantGlobal.org. Join the kingdom, be part of it. An initiative of Dr. Susan Tata.
So, good evening. Welcome, everyone. As you can see, today is another kind of a day. While we're waiting on Baba Belly to join us, I would like to bring your attention to what you already know that is going on in Europe, particularly, yes, in Europe, on the continent of Europe, outside Africa this time. I mean, you all heard about the conflict going on or the war going on in Ukraine and Russia, or Europe's war, as it's been articulated. And so we are very, very concerned about the African community. Of course, we do address our condolences to all the lives that have been lost in this war that started yesterday, and many more lives as we see here on, yeah. That's how the world has been run. And immediately we got that information and we break it out. Africans were really kind of like, what the? This is not a World War. This is a Europe war, and we should be calling it the name it is. Because when the conflicts or wars are taking place on the continent, it never has been the concern of the world. It never has been the World War. It has always been conflicts or internal conflicts or local conflicts or tribal conflicts. So Africans worldwide are concerned, but they want to actually address the situation the way it is. And so we've been getting a lot of reaction on the social media. We've been getting a lot of videos coming out there, tweets as well as, and we heard the first message from the American president, Mr. Joe Biden, who made a clear statement. We also heard some announcements coming out from Europe, from the UK, and Germany as well. And we're just watching. We've always wanted, or Africans are looking for a peaceful world, humanity. When are we going to stop all this business around the world of killings? How on earth has humanity just like anything else, right? So yes, we are trying to reach out to the community out there in Ukraine. And last night we reached out to a brother who owns the largest African church. And that was the only information or the only contact that we could get there in the Ukraine to tell us exactly what's going on. We've seen a lot of countries that are evacuating their citizens out of there. Till now, we haven't heard anything from the leaders of the continent of Africa whose citizens are actually really there in Ukraine. Sorry, and but we saw some announcements out there that South Africans are being, they're calling out for their leaderships to evacuate them. And we keep asking, is South Africa different from Africa? And suddenly we saw, a press release also coming out from the chairman, the secretary of the African Union, Excellency Farki, who sent out a very straight warning. Calling on the partners concerned, Russia and Ukraine, to sit down and look for a peaceful way to the conflict or to the war that is taking place out there. We didn't hear anything, or Africans are saying there was nothing said about, the concern of its citizen out there. So, but when we reach out to this brother out there, he actually was ready to come on the show to tell us actually what it is yesterday. And that's why we couldn't come live, because we were waiting with already a schedule that appointment until he calls us to say they are all on the run because the situation was so tense and everybody was just fleeing for its life. He also had to gather some, some communities, some members, and particularly members of his family. And they were driving to the borders in Poland. If they could just cross the border and get into Poland, then they could start thinking or even looking behind to find out what's going on. So finally, we couldn't get in touch with him. We lost contact. But this evening, he signed in to say that they're already in Poland, and but they're still looking. I think they're just hanging somewhere in the road in the trucks. And so that is actually what is going on in Ukraine, and our people are stranded. Africans, as usual, on the continent, in the diaspora. It's always going to be a concern. They're stranded at every point in time. It's either they're dying out there in Libya, trying to cross out, or they are even trying, trying to cross from one country to the other. So I don't know what is actually going on. Check, you see in, and so whatever the situation is, we're going to keep you updated on it. We don't really know. Nobody can say anything. What's going to happen tomorrow? What's going to happen? What is actually going on? But like Africans are like, that's Europe's concern. That's its war. They have to deal with it. But you can imagine every war, whether the first war or the second war, as they call it, always had an impact on the global world at large, particularly Africans. Let's face the fact. When they beef each other and at the end of the day, nothing to show off or no resources, what are they going to look out to? Right? So, politicians or even concerned activists are already sending messages and tweets to the African leadership to say, this is the time you have to get yourself organized. Don't be so concerned. Don't cry somebody's die more than your own now. We go and we weep and mourn and do every other thing and send solidarity and stuff like that. How many times do we really see, when there's a conflict on the continent, people are dying? For instance, in Southern Cameroon, there's been an internal conflict, what they call internal conflict, and the root cause is always what we know it is. And we've never seen any tweet. We've never seen any government come out, to share. In Uganda, it's the same thing. In Sudan, recently in Ethiopia. And I love one of the consultants, the media consultant in Tanzania, who reached out to us and said, Pan-African Daily TV, don't worry. Let's just behave the way they behave to Ethiopia and call it an internal crisis. And Europe is big enough, developed enough, educated enough to sit on the table and have a negotiation. So the more it's not a world global pandemic, the more people will learn to solve their crisis. After all, what happened in Ethiopia, there wasn't any concern, and lives also were lost, isn't it? But is it the way forward to a world that we're building and developing and want a peaceful living together with one another? So we are waiting, we are checking, we are in prayers continuously. We've seen, I want to thank people that continuously are praying for global peace. But at the end of the day, people keep asking the same question. Can there be peace without justice? Can we pray and pray and pray? Pray to who? When God asks us and give us the planet to live in peace with one another. So sometimes when we say we pray for peace, it's as if it's like there's somebody else that really has to sit on this table and negotiate with us. It is us that has to choose the world and the pattern in which we are living on. But of course, we know there's a vibration, there's a spirit of unity and peace and lovers of peace that we've always been, not warriors, would always come together and just meditate and just send this, this positive energy of unity and love and peace, and solidarity for those that are actually affected all across the continent, black, white, whatever. So while we're waiting on Baba Bellies to connect with us, we actually waiting, and he's been coming in. He's been thrown out. His technique is not really collaborating. Last time or 2 days ago, we were even fortunate to actually get him for just a while, but tonight is like, from what I see, since 7:30 our time here, it's been on and off, on and off. Yeah, so what more else can we say? We all have to understand that we are not going to keep saying, oh no, some people have to die, some people doesn't have to die. That's not the spirit of who we are. We're the origins, we're the creators, we're the humanity species. And we all know that it's a responsibility for all of us to send the spirit of unity and to heal the world again. So no matter how what we look out, we are not going to rejoice on each other's pain. Whether on the continent or in the world anywhere, we form a global world. We have to leave anybody's part for him. And judgment is going to come anyway. Nobody's going to run away from it. It's going to go around and go around and go around and meet that same point where it left it. That's a fact. So whatever it is, we're sending our prayers out there to all the people, to the Cameroonians, Southern Cameroonians, Zimbabweans, Ugandans, Ethiopians, Europeans, anywhere around the continent. On the Pan-African Daily TV, it's not about just seeking our own solutions, but we know other root causes of other solutions that will automatically become our challenge, whether we are a part or not. We've never been a part in any wars. We don't even produce weapons. We don't even know. We don't even have the knowledge of negotiation, like they keep telling us we're the stupidest, the most stupidest race of people. We do agree. But how come civilized people, civilized systems cannot sit together and agree on a common agenda and way forward for humanity? And like it, we had a very strong message from a journalist out there in the US who said, and who suffers in terms of crisis like this? It is the people, the innocent people, who are going to be, bullet strayed, stray bullets. They're going to call it collateral damage. That's how far. We want to talk today about, or continue our conversation today about who killed Malcolm X, our ancestor. We want to hear it from a brother who was right there. It's really unfortunate that we didn't actually, and we're still not getting him. And so tell me how you feel. What is the way forward? What should Africans be doing? I saw a lot of tweets, a lot of sort of comment, a lot of warnings even, like we saw the issue of Kenya trying to intervene and give out a warning out there to Russia. And we saw the president come out and give also a clear warning, anybody that is going to interfere in this business. So you see the internal conflicts. Africa, take care of your own. Feed yourself. Develop your own systems first before we start showing too much, always crying other people's death than our own. Always. It's the same thing. I love one comment that a brother posted yesterday in all this, and he said, Africans, be on the watch? Because there's some people we just supposed to only greet and walk away. How come everybody becomes a friend? There's some people, even amongst us Africa, that you just say hello and go. The fact that we're brothers and sisters doesn't mean you have to, everybody would have to automatically. So that's the way it is. We are all saddened. The atmosphere is just like, nobody knows what is going to happen. And prices are skyrocketing, but some people are rejoicing, right? Like the way it is. If a man dies, those that are selling, or those, making money out of graveyards, they earn the money, they earn a living. And some, while others are crying, some other people are busy making money. I don't know. It is only the Creator, the Most High, that created the universe and his humanity, and all of us that is in it has the final say. And that's why we always say in Pidgin, now God get power. Because at the end of the day, whether those that are crying today and you that are thinking that you're making some money, at the end of the day, you also have to cry. And some people will rejoice. So we are in that circle. What goes around comes around, and most often comes around triple times. That is the law of nature. You can't run away from it. So what is it? Live for today happily, and then I don't care what happens. How come did we get this? How low did we get? I just want to see some people share some comments here, and I'll be waiting for our guest for tonight. I still don't see him coming on. You can call in on +49 1578 211 2379. Tell us your impression about what is going on in the world today, and particularly the communities that are really in this kind of pain. How can we sleep when some people go hungry? We had musicians that sang and sang and sang. Like in any kind of educational format, the normal people, the ones that are watching, the ones that are crying, the ones that are, busy, just, the ones that are supporting, the ones actually that are causing the pain. And we say, what is the situation? How do we get to world boundaries, countries, my country, your country, my own, my people? How did the creator created the world? We just learned that we were just like in our own continent, running us in the trees, and we were just friends to animals and nature and everything. And we could farm, we could eat, we could dress. We didn't even bother. We could just cut our leaves and put it on us. We could talk to the creator. We could walk barefoot until some kind of theory came with theology, with some kind of civilization. I don't really know. Or you're naked, or you're walking barefoot because you don't have. No, I have. I can give. Oh no, you're hungry and I can feed. And we begin to ask, how was it before? How was the world like? So it's just sometimes sit and reflect. You sit and reflect, like, how was, if we're talking today about the looted artifacts of the Africans, that in European museum or wherever you want to call it, and you look at those artifacts, those bronze, and you say, were these uncivilized people that could create bronze? How? And we look at even the clothings. I mean, when I was growing up, I saw this is not ancestors that could make leather shoes, leather bags, and they supply it in all the dormitories in the schools. Are these people that could not invent things or create things or build industries? Are we serious about that? What happened? Where did we keep our minds that today we see shoes coming out of China or coming out of every place? It's like we never created, like we never could do anything. Clothes, like we never even had clothes. Food, like we never were feeding ourselves. It's as if we never really ever existed. Do you think about it sometimes? And when we throw out these research questions like pre-colonial history, African history, pre-colonial history, because sometimes now we always say, no, our problems are coming because the West came to us. But how were we before? Isn't it interesting to just know? How come that our ancestors know what they could eat and survive? How come that they could even combine their food and it tastes so good? Which schools and caterings did they go to learn all this wisdom to invent? How come did they know how to twist their kinky hair? Or they just leave it grow wild until it becomes locks, and they were even sweeping the, and it becomes now a lifestyle, Rastafari. Which schools, without educations, without religious systems, did they go to? Is it also normal that we could look at and look? We see the history that we learned. Even Europeans, they go back to their history to learn. How were they? Some questions are like, how was it like? How was the universe like? Now we saw the Hottentots, our people, bush people, we call them the bush people. In Cameroon, we have them, the forest people. We see them everywhere in West Guinea, Papua. They cultivate, they eat, whether they kill, they were hunters, right? Like the ones in the forest. They hunt the animals. And now, no, you're killing wildlife. But it's better to eat swine. It's better to eat other animals. And some others, no. How did we feed? Were we eating air, breathing air? This are the kind of things that when we talk about even knowing our history, probably like Mama Bello told us, the Queen of Haiti, just ask questions. Sit sometime in the black room and just meditate. Just think backwards. Just think backwards. And like, yeah, today I see this, but how was it? Was it always like this? It's the same thing that you see how we aging and going, but we were not also like that. And we could give stories in our past, how we were growing up in our villages, in our neighborhoods, how we walked on foot, how we ran and played in the rain and sang songs and danced. It's not today. We didn't have handies. We didn't have telephones. Just even in our own generation, the things that are happening that we didn't have. I think our guess is right there. But we did exist. How? How were battles even fought? We saw the horse riders and standing. Oh, hello. Can you unmute yourself? Unmute yourself, Baba Belly. Can you hear me? You can't hear me because you're muted. See, I cannot hear you. No. You have to unmute yourself. Oh, he's on mute. No, Papa. See, I cannot hear you. I cannot hear you. Unmute. I don't know if there's anybody around your lobby room or just out there to tell you just to unmute. That's why I can't hear you. Your microphone is shut. And because he's not on, I see you. Beautiful, good smile, everything. And we want to wish you a happy birthday, but I can hear you. Hello.
Now can you hear me? Yes.
Yes. Happy birthday to you, Baba Belly. Happy birthday. How was the birthday
Thank you
celebration?
very much. The actual day was yesterday.
Yes, it was yesterday. I do know. And that's why, I mean, all these things that have been going on in Ukraine and Russia, but you could celebrate, isn't it?
Oh, yes. In fact, I will be celebrating. Today we had such bad weather here yesterday. It rained all day and it was not sunny, so I stayed in the house most of the day. So, and the day is sunny and 40 degrees. Yesterday it was raining and 30 degrees. So today friends are gonna pick me up and take me to dinner.
So you had the gift of the rains, and you know what the rains is. That's the biggest gift that you could have on your anniversary, isn't it?
Rain, and I don't mind the rain. But the cold, it was about 35 degrees.
Oh.
I can deal with the rain, but I can't deal with the 35 degrees.
Particularly
That's
somebody, a sun man like you in the cold.
That's too cold for me.
I know.
I don't like anything below 60.
We wish you all the best, Baba. All the family is here. We celebrate you, your Earth Day, and everything. We can see you smiling. I hope you had a lot of presents, a lot of gifts, and you ate something. What is it that you had for dinner on this Earth
Thank
Day?
you very much.
Yes.
Can you speak up just a little bit?
Okay. Let us just go into the topic that we even were interrupted. But I mean, we will still have to celebrate you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We had a very interesting conversation and something just happened. I truly apologize for it. And thank you again that you could reschedule and want to share that historic lecture and moments with us, irrespective of what is going on in the world today. We want to know our own stories and we want to hear from you, Baba. Can you just start it over again? I know you were speaking from your heart. So I don't worry if it was a script. I would say, oh, you were gonna read the script. But there was no script. So go on, Baba. Thank you for being here.
Okay. You could you please you want me to do the same thing we did yesterday? I mean the other day?
Yes, Baba. That's what we want to learn.
But how I met and got involved with Brother Malcolm?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, well, I will say this. First of all, I'll start off by saying when people often ask me, you know, how I think about Malcolm, you know, about Brother Malcolm, you know what I always say? He was a great human being. He was a great Black man. He was a great pan-Africanist, and he was a master teacher. And my involvement with him, I saw him in all four of those arenas during those 15 months that I actually worked with him in the Organization of Afro-American Unity. Now, I was living in, you know, I moved to Harlem in the summer of 1962. I moved in on a Friday, and on Saturday morning, instead of unpacking, my friend who had helped me to move, we decided to walk down Lenox Avenue, of course, which is now called Malcolm X Boulevard, but then it was called Lenox Avenue. So we walked down Lenox Avenue to 125th Street, which is the main street in Harlem. And we said, well, let's walk a little bit more. So then we kept walking. We got down to 116th Street. And we got to 116th Street and we saw a crowd gathering. And we said, we asked people, what's going on? And they said, Malcolm X is going to speak. Now, at that time, this is the summer of 1962, I had kind of vaguely heard of Brother Malcolm. And usually what I had heard was very negative. He advocates violence. You know, he thinks Black people should kill white people, you know, that kind of thing. And so my friend and I said, let's hear what he's got to say. You know, we'll stay here for a few minutes, you know, listen to what he has to say. Well, the brother ended up speaking for almost 3 hours. And when those 3 hours was up, I was a Malcolmite. I was a Malcolmite for those 3 hours because I had never in my life, at the age of 24, which I was at that time, I had never heard anyone talk about the race situation in North America in the way that he did, with the clarity and the passion and the knowledge, you know, and the commitment. I had never heard anyone speak in the truthfulness. I had never heard anyone speak of it in that way. And one of the things that he talked about it, there were two things that really attracted me. First, he spent a lot of time talking about how they have distorted our history. And I was a history buff, and I can remember going from first grade through high school in American high schools, and I never heard a word about Black history in all those years. From grades 1 through 8 and grades 9 through 12, never heard anything about Black history. And so my knowledge of history was, you know, what I'd been taught in the schools. Now I had already begun to pick up here and there, you know, a little bit different things about, you know, listening to other people about the real history of the country, but I never heard it in any kind of way that really caught my attention and grabbed me the way Brother Malcolm did. And that was one thing. The second thing, and this was something that I had never heard before in my life at the age of 24, I had never heard anyone talk about psychological warfare and attacks on the mind. I had never heard that in my life at the age of 24. So when he talked about that, and that was about maybe 40, 45 minutes of his presentation that day, I immediately began, as he was talking, and when I left there, I began to think about, I grew up in Tuskegee, Alabama, in the days of the, segregation. And I can remember every Saturday between ages 6 and 13, my friends and I would go downtown to the segregated movie theater. In Tuskegee, they didn't have like black people sitting in the balcony as they did in many southern cities and towns. We had two completely separate movie theaters. One movie theater for white folks, one for black folks. They were side by side. So of course, we went to the black folks theater. And every Saturday you have about 500 or 600 black kids in that theater. And we would sit there and cheer, because many of the movies they showed were Tarzan movies. And we would sit there in that movie theater and cheer for Tarzan as he dominated and ridiculed and did all kind of negative things about African people. And his cheetah, he had his cheetah with him. And we were laughing. We were cheering Tarzan when he had any kind of confrontation with Africans. And then with the Africans, they wore these, just these things, wraparounds, I call them wraparounds, just around their waist, nothing else on. And so we found that rather amusing. We used to laugh at that. And then we used to say they had them wraparound sheets. We used to say, oh, they wrap sheets around the middle of their bodies. And and then when they spoke to each other, whenever the Africans were just the Africans, sometimes they would speak in their native languages. And to us, that means that they were stupid and ignorant because they couldn't speak English. Now this is going on Saturday after Saturday after Saturday between the ages of 6 and 13. I'm getting this, going into me. And I can remember during that age, sometimes, you get into an argument with somebody, and of course we couldn't curse in front of our parents, but we knew some of the curse words, and we were among ourselves, and we got angry with somebody. We used the curse words on them, and sometimes that would cause a fight. If you call somebody, I guess I can't say I'm on the air, but the ones I'm talking about, the EMF and the SOB, and so we would call it, and sometimes that would cause a fight. But if you wanted a sure fight, you call somebody African or black. That was a sure fight. If you call someone African or black, and because of the psychological thing that had been done to us by the society. And so when I heard Brother Malcom that day, all of these things came back into my mind, and I began to, to understand what was going on, and it began to completely elevate my way of thinking. Elevate my way of thinking about black people, elevate my way of thinking about Africa and everything. And so from then on, wherever he spoke in the New York City area, sister, I was there. I don't care where it was. It was in the New York City area. I made sure I got over there and listened. And if he mentioned a book, I try to go to the library and find the book. If he mentioned an article, I would try to find the article somewhere and read it. I mean, I was taking, literally writing down the name of the book or the article so that I could get there to read it. And this went on from the time I heard him in 1962 until late 1963. At this time, I'm working at Time Inc. The publishers of Time magazine. I'm working with them in downtown Manhattan in what they call Rockefeller Center area, and NBC was there, and other big corporations were part of the Rockefeller Center area. And below ground, they had like restaurants. And I would eat sometimes down there. And one day when I was eating, there was a young black woman. We were in line, and we started talking. And then we sat down and we talked. And I found out that she was an intern, one of the first black interns at NBC. And this is again, we're talking now like late night. I think it was maybe early December 1963. And so after we had talked, and then it became regular. We would talk almost every day. Now, of course, she was dressed very, very, dressy type. She was dressed very, very dressy. And so one day, I said to her, we were talking, and she said to me, "How would you like to be a part of a new Black nationalist organization?" And I said, what? I could not believe, I didn't know what she was talking about. You know, a black nationalist organization coming from her, you know, the way she looked and everything. And she said, I said, yes. So she said, you know, and of course I said yes because I had been listening to Brother Malcolm. So she said, okay, well, I'll call you on Saturday morning and I'll tell you where to meet and what time and don't ask any questions. So I said, okay. She called me. I went to the place. There was a motel in Harlem that she told me to go to. I was kind of shocked at the motel because this place had a very bad reputation as a place where, you know, you could check in for 2 hours type place. And so I walked up and I went in, and there was a conference room on the ground level. I went into the conference room. And when I walked in, I saw my friend and her roommate, who I knew. Then I saw Dr. John Henry Clark, who I did not know, but who I recognized because I had heard about him and had seen him a couple of times. And then John Oliver Killers, the author, he was there. But the other 4 or 5 people who were there, I did not know them at all. And so I went in and sat down at the table, and we continued talking. And after that minute, maybe about 20 minutes, Brother Malcolm walked in. And when he walked in, I almost fell off my chair because I had no idea until he walked through that door that I was getting ready to get involved with an organization with Brother Malcolm. I mean, I just really, really, really was shocked. And he came in, he sat down, he introduced himself to us, and then each one of us introduced ourselves to him. And then he told us that he was planning on forming an organization called and he had already decided on the name. It was the Organization of Afro-American Unity, OAAU. And he had named it after the Organization of African Unity, which had been founded the year before in 1963 and had its first conference in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and had another meeting scheduled for July in Cairo. And Brother Malcolm told us about this, and we talked about it. He told us the goal of what he had planned on doing was to take the United States government before the UN Commission on Human Rights for being either unable or unwilling to protect the lives and property of Black people. Now, of course, at that time, between 1955 and 1965, there was some horrific things going on in this country. People were being killed in the movement. Homes were being firebombed. Medgar Evers was assassinated and killed. The bombing in Birmingham had killed those 4 little girls. And of course, the United States federal government basically had been claiming that it could do nothing about it. Now, what they did do in 1957, when Little Rock happened, Eisenhower, then President Eisenhower kept saying, nothing I can do, nothing I can do, nothing I can do, until one day somebody came in and showed him the Russian newspaper and had all these pictures of Little Rock on the front page. And all of a sudden, President Eisenhower decided he could do something because we're going to hurt the country propaganda-wise. So he nationalized the Arkansas National Guard and had them protect those 9 children who were desegregated in this high school in Little Rock, Arkansas. And then in 1963, with all the horrific things that were going on, they were putting fire hoses on the young people. It was mostly young Black people. The police were putting fire hoses on them, and they were putting police dogs on them. And then John Kennedy was president, and he was also saying, well, you know, this is a state problem. Federal government cannot, do anything. Blah 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 blah. So then, of course, it started getting all around the world, pictures all around the world that this was going on. And all of a sudden, President Kennedy could do something. He nationalized the Alabama National Guard and put them out there to protect, the Black people from the white supremacists. And so Brother Malcolm told us that the only way we were going to be able to put a stop to this was to take our case to the United Nations Commission on Human Rights. Now, at that time, the United States had not signed the UN Charter on Human Rights. I don't know if they've signed it to this date, but I know they had not signed it at that time. And since they had not signed it, a local Black organization or individual in North America could not go to the UN with our case. You had to get a member of the UN to take your case to the UN Charter on Human Rights. And so what Brother Malcolm was working on was getting some African countries to do this for us. That was why he was traveling to Africa back and forth. And I just want to say one of the highlights of his travels was that in May 1964, he was in Africa and he had audiences. And I remember, folks, audiences, not something like you meet someone at a reception, you talk for a couple of minutes and then you move on. He had audiences ranging from 1.5 hours to 3 hours with the following African leaders: President Ezekwe of Nigeria, President Nasser of Egypt, President Nkrumah of Ghana, President Nyerere of Tanzania, President Kenyatta of Kenya, President Nture of Guinea, and Prime Minister Obote of Uganda. He had audiences with these. And as a result of that, they arranged for him to be invited to speak at the OAU conference, which is going to be held in Cairo in July 1964. And Brother Malcolm, and they invited him as an observer, not a participant, because in order to be a participant, you had to have be head of a country, and so he could only go there as an observer. But what Brother Malcolm did, he put together a long, I think it was 8-page document, in which he explained in detail as to why he believed that it was so important for a closer relationship between the continent of Africa and people of African descent in North America. And he took that document to this thing, gave each one of the African leaders one, gave everybody there who had any kind of connection to the African governments one, gave one to the press, gave one and passed it out, and then was interviewed about it and talked about it. Every chance he got, he talked about it to different people. So he really pushed this document. As a result of that, in I think it was August of 1964, the African governments did something that they had never done before and that they have never done since as a unit. The Organization of African Unity issued a resolution condemning racial discrimination in North America. Issued a resolution. And that, one of those things that whereas, urgent. That's what he did. And that was unheard of in that time. And I am convinced when the FBI, the State Department, and the government, the CIA, and those folks, so that he had been able to get that done, that's when I think they became very, very, very concerned about this brother's, what he was doing and what he was capable of doing. And I think from that moment on, they decided he got to go. We got to do something about him. I really believe that. And that was, like I say, that was July 1964. And okay, over the next few months, he continued to travel. Now, by this time, he had formed the Organization of African Unity. And it was at this that I was introduced to journalism. I became editor of the organization's newsletter, mainly because I had never done anything before in terms of being a journalist. So, but Brother Malcolm made me want to be a journalist when he started talking. And people forget, he had some journalistic background too, because he used to write a column that ran in black newspapers. Plus, he was the one who actually set up Muhammad Speaks, which was the journalistic instrument for the Nation of Islam. He was the one who basically set that up. So he had some connection to the field of journalism. And so I became editor of the newsletter. And we were the only publication in New York City that was covering what he was doing abroad. We ended up printing 9 issues of the newsletter. 3 of them, the first 3 issues were called the OAAU newsletter. The last 6 were called the OAAU Blacklash, and we did that because there was a lot of talk at that time about a white backlash. So we decided to do that, called our publication the Blacklash. And so we published copies. We published everything Brother Malcolm was doing while he was traveling abroad. We had pictures on front pages of him with different African leaders and personalities in our newsletter. And Brother Malcolm, and I'll tell you 2 things why I call him a master teacher. I've already talked about why he's a great human being, a great black man, a great Pan-Africanist, and a master teacher. In the very first issue of the newsletter, I wrote an article about the killing of a 15-year-old black boy by this white policeman in New York, in Manhattan. He killed this boy down in Midtown Manhattan, an area that was predominantly white, but these black kids were going to summer school there. And one day they're coming out of summer school, and this man who owned this grocery store, something kind of store, but he was watering down the sidewalk, and he put the water on them. And this one young boy got upset about that and said, "What are you doing, blah, blah?" And this policeman came out of the thing, and the man made him sound as though the boy was threatening him, and he shot the boy and killed him. a 15-year-old boy. And that's what set up the Harlem Uprising in 1964. When I got word of this, I went down there and I interviewed some of the youngsters who had witnessed everything. And I wrote an article for the first issue of our newsletter. And at this time, again, Brother Malcolm was traveling in Africa. And although some of the local papers were saying that he was in some hideaway over in the Queens part of New York City, directing the uprising, although that's what some of the newspapers in New York were saying. And so he would call back to the OAAU office from Africa to get an update from each committee chair about what was going on with that particular chair: the youth committee, education committee, economics committee, political committee, self-defense committee, and then when he got to me, as the newsletter is the head of the newsletter, I was reading him what I had written about, what had happened to that boy. And I got to the line, I said, eyewitnesses to the murder. And Brother Malcolm said, no, Brother Peter, you can't use the word murder, a murderer. Those are legal terms. And we know that policeman is going to be acquitted. And when he's acquitted, he can sue for defamation. He said, call him a killer, because he's a killer, and it's a killing no matter what the circumstances. Now, we had run off, our production guy and I had run off about 500 copies of this thing. So rather than try to redo that all over again, we just scratched out the word killing and wrote murder, above it for the newsletter, to distribute the newsletter. And that was Brother Malcolm as the master teacher. A second thing he taught us, he said, if we're having a meeting of any kind, whether it's a rally or just a meeting of some of the OAAU people, and somebody at our meeting stand up and say, we ought to go bomb the subways, or we ought to do this, some kind of thing like that. And he said, stop the meeting and put that person out, because 9 times out of 10, that person is an informant. That person is an informant with the police or someone. And what they will do, if you discuss what he says for even for 2 or 3 minutes, they're going to then accuse everybody in the room of some kind of conspiracy type thing, and then pick you up. And though they may have a very weak case, they can keep you tied up in the courts for at least a year, spending all your money and all your time. And that was a part of their policy to do that. And so he told us, if anybody in our meetings got us to, he said, nobody who's serious is going to stand in a public meeting talking about bombing subways. He said, so if anybody do that in one of our meetings, put that person out. And so we didn't have that kind of trouble. A lot of organizations got into from things that were said at that meeting rather than things, that were done. That was Brother Malcolm, the master teacher again. And now, Brother Malcolm, the human being, again, and I'm bringing it to something to me personally that affected me. On February 20th, the day before Brother Malcolm was assassinated, I had written a statement. This was like 2 weeks before his home had been, 2 weeks before he had been banned from France. The week before his home had been firebombed, in which his wife and children's lives were put in danger. So I wrote that Saturday, which was a Saturday, February 20th, 1965, I wrote a statement, kind of a news release, going to distribute at our rally the next day, February 21st. And in it, I was basically saying, how we no matter what they do, we still supported Brother Malcolm. To this day, sister, I don't know exactly what I said, totally what I said, because I showed it when Brother Malcolm came by the office that day. I showed it to him, and he said, Brother Peter, can't use this. Don't distribute this. So I said, okay. I didn't ask any questions. I said, okay. I put it off to the side. What happened to them, I do not know to this day. I never saw them again. And I never been able to get one. I don't know exactly what I wrote that, that what he was saying, because obviously it was something that I had wrote in there that they could have used against us again in that old way of taking us to courts, even though they had a weak case and trying to keep us tied up in the courts for a year or so. So I said, okay, and I put it away. So the next day, when he came to the Audubon Ballroom, I was already there when he came in. When you come up the steps into the Audubon, they were like a little small lobby area. I was sitting in the lobby area when he came in, reading something that a paper. And when he came in, Brother Malcolm said, Brother Peter, when you get a chance, come backstage. I want to talk to you. So I said, okay. So about 5 or 6 minutes later, I went backstage. Now listen to this. This brother's under all this pressure. He had been banned from France. His home had been firebombed. He'd been getting all these threats. He's under all of this pressure. And you know why he asked me to come backstage? Because he was concerned that my feelings had been hurt when he asked me to not, distribute that document that I had written. He said, Brother Peter, I know you put a lot of work in it, and I hope you understand why I asked you to not do it. I said, of course I understand. No problem. No problem. But that again, you understand what I'm saying? This brother, all this great, and yet he's concerned about my feelings. And also on that day, February 21st, I had read in that morning, I had read an article in the New York Times about the Deacons for Defense and Justice. This was a group of brothers down in, I think it was Louisiana. I think it was either Louisiana, Mississippi, I think Louisiana. They had formed a group called the Deacons for Defense and Justice. And they said from now on, they were going to protect civil rights demonstrators who were being attacked by white supremacists. They were going to protect the people who were demonstrating. And they were going to have rifles, because this was unheard of. And so, Brother Malcolm, I clipped the article out of the New York Times. I took it with me that on February 21st to the Audubon. And when Brother Malcolm invited me to come backstage, I showed him what I had with this article. And he read it and he said, that's what I'm talking about. Self-defense. Self-defense. That's what I'm talking about. I'm so glad to see those brothers, especially down there in the deep South, doing this kind of thing. And another thing he said to me that I always remember from that day was that he had been traveling a lot during the first 14 months of the OAAU. He spent a lot of time traveling, carrying out his pan-africanism. He said that I've been invited down to speak to Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi, to speak to the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, which at that time was headed by John Lewis. And he said, I'm going to go down there and speak. And then when I come back, I'm just going to spend the next 6 months building up the OAAU. And of course, that's the same day that he was assassinated. And the reason he had gotten an invitation to SNCC, while he was in Africa, he had run into John Lewis, who was traveling in Africa, as the head of SNCC. And they ran into each other. They didn't have time to spend a lot of time, but John Lewis, in his memoir, wrote about that meeting with Brother Malcolm and how Brother Malcolm was explaining to them about his pan-Africanism and why it was so important, and was very glad to see that John Lewis was reaching out to African countries, for the support of SNCC. And Brother Malcolm strongly believed, and this is what he told us. And what I want to do to kind of wrap up is to just read you something that he said when he came back from the conference in Ghana, and he wrote a release explaining what he had been doing. I'm just going to read 2 quick paragraphs from it. He said, a united Africa is a strong and independent Africa, an Africa that can stand on its own feet, walk for itself, and avoid the snarls and pitfalls devised by the quote unquote benevolent imperialists to keep the mother continent divided, weak, and dependent upon the quote unquote philanthropic West for economic quote unquote aid, political quote unquote guidance, and military protection. That's what he said. And he said, during the Second African Summit Conference, any unbiased observer could easily see that Africa is making every effort today to stand her own feet and speak with her own voice. Africa seeks only her rightful place in the sun. And that's not the whole thing, but that gives you an idea of his reaction to what he experienced and witnessed when he was at that OAU summit conference. And to show you what they were doing, one of the things they did, I'm talking about the United States government, they said, when they saw what Brother Malcolm was doing in Africa and how he was being treated almost like he was a Secretary of State, for people of Africa descent in North America, he was being treated almost like a Secretary of State. So they decided to counter that, they're going to start sending some of the civil rights leaders to Africa. Some of the traditional civil rights leaders, they were going to send them to Africa to counter what Brother Malcolm was doing. And there was one of the people they sent was James Farmer, who was at that time the head of CORE, Congress of Racial Equality. and the state, the American, the ambassador in I think it was in Ghana, who was when Farmer came, he said that his last line was, Farmer to some degree was able to undo the damage that Malcolm X had done on 2 visits. So this shows you how concerned they were about. Now this is what the ambassador, the American ambassador in Ghana, sent back to the state, to the Secretary of State in D.C. So this shows you how closely they were watching him and what they were doing. In fact, in my book that I'm working on Brother Malcolm, International Policy, I'm including a whole section, and it will be nothing but the FBI files on the OAAU. And you will see how closely they were watching the organization and how closely they were watching what, Brother Malcolm, was doing. And I think that there's been an effort in this country to basically avoid Brother Malcolm and what he was doing internationally, and always try to treat his assassination as just another case of black on black homicide. And they don't want to. But when they really were very concerned about the possibility of him being able to have the United States government taken before the UN Commission on Human Rights, they were very concerned about that. They were very concerned and angered by the way he was being treated as he moved around Africa. They were very, very nervous that he was going to find some countries on the continent who would take our case to the UN Commission on Human Rights. And Dr. John Henry Clark told me later, after the assassination, Dr. John Henry Clark told me that at least 6 African countries had agreed to do so. They were going to take what was going on in the United States at that time. They were going to take it before the UN Commission on Human Rights. And as you can imagine, that would have been a tremendous propaganda a blow against North America, which is always proclaiming itself as the leader of the free world, the cradle of democracy, and where everybody is treated equally. And this is the way it was presenting itself to the world. And this would have shown that the fallacy of that position. And because they felt as though Brother Malcolm was in a position, was creating a position where he could tell the truth and take the truth out there, and especially to Africa, they became very concerned and very, very, I think, determined to make sure that he would not be around to do that.
Wow.
You have any questions?
Sure, Baba. I mean, like we said, we just listened to the stories. It's like were you there on the night when he was assassinated or was killed? Were you there? Okay. Your microphone is muted again, Baba. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes. I can hear you. I was just asking, were you there at that, during that conversation or that meeting the night he was assassinated? Were you there? Were you present? Muted again.
Okay. Well, while we were doing that, I will continue more. Brother Malcolm, as a pan-Africanist, and this is what I think that he wants to be remembered. And one of the things about him that was so important, and that I constantly try to tell people, and especially young people, because most people don't understand the importance of listening. I listed all those great things Brother Malcolm was, a great human being, a great Black man, a great Pan-Africanist, and a master teacher. He was also a great listener. Sometimes when he was in a way and people were talking, you could almost see him. You could see him visibly how intensely he was paying attention, and that's one of the things that he taught us. And as I said before, I was kind of by the time I was the editor of the newsletter, and I started thinking I was like an editor. I'm like an editor. So I started bugging Brother Malcolm. I wanted him to write an article for the newsletter. that was just for the newsletter. I wanted him to write an article just for the newsletter. And so he agreed to do so. And on February 20th, he gave me an article to publish in the next issue of our newsletter. And he signed the article. And one of the things that he said was that it show you how he can make things clear. He said, when I was growing up in Michigan as a little boy, used to hear people say, woman's chance. And I remember hearing that as a child. Oh, when people were saying you didn't have any possibility of doing whatever you were trying to do, you don't have a Chinaman's chance of doing that. Well, Brother Malcolm said that he heard that a lot when he was growing up as a boy in Michigan. He said, but you notice now that China has become a force on the world scene. You don't hear that no more. You don't hear nobody saying you don't have a Chinaman's chance. He said, well, that's what a united Africa has got to be. So that no matter what is going on, Africa, will have to be taken into people will have to be held accountable when they do anything that messes with the continent. And sister, I saw something in 2019. No, not 2019. In 2009, the Washington Post, one of the most powerful newspapers in America, the Washington Post ran a column in which it ran an eight-page supplement, about Africa in the Washington Post. You know what the title of the supplement was? Africa on the agenda. Now notice, not Africa's agenda, Africa on the agenda. And you know what the subtitle was? Africa, the key to global economic growth. Now, how can you be the key to global economic growth and not have more influence and power in the world that we live in? And the reason it doesn't, because Africa, the continent, is not unified. If the continent was continental, like the United States is continental, if the continent of Africa was continental, like North America is continental, Africa would be able to exercise that possible power on the world scene. Because according to this Washington Post article, Africa is the key to global economic growth. And Brother Malcolm understood that way back then when he talked about when he was talking about the necessity of Africa, of pan-Africanism, and he was talking about how the Africans had, there was so much material and stuff on the continent that was needed by the world, mineral things and those kind of things that was needed by the world. And if Africa was continental, man, it would be a major force. And I think we have to understand that, and we have to make sure and stop this kind of thing that's going on where the former colonialist type people are basically, using things to keep Africa, helping to keep Africa divided. And I think some of that responsibility for doing that now is on us. It's not on anybody. And same way with people of Africans in here in North America. We're not unified like we should be. And to me personally, I'm not blaming anybody else anymore for our lack of unity. I'm blaming us in 2022. We got to accept the responsibility for us not being as unified as we're supposed to be, and not able to do the things that we're supposed to be doing to promote and protect our interests, in this society. That's our, and as far as I'm concerned, in 2022, that's our fault, because we have both the facilities and the people and the knowledge and all those things that are needed to become more unified, so we can more strongly promote and protect our interests, in the world that we live in. And I'm hoping that somehow the pan-Africanism and I'll say again, I don't know, I think I've said it before in this show, but I always say that, to me, you can't be a Muslim pan-Africanist, a Christian pan-Africanist, a North American pan-Africanist, a Ghanaian pan-Africanist, a Nigerian pan-Africanist, a Senegalese pan-Africanist. You have to be a Pan-African Muslim, a Pan-African Christian, a Pan-African Nigerian, a Pan-African Ghanaian, a Pan-African Senegalese, a Pan-African North person, black person in North America. Pan-Africanism has got to become the first identity, so that will unify us. When you find American people go abroad from this country, in this country we talk about Californians and New Yorkers and Alabamians and Georgians and that kind of thing. But when you find the people in this country go abroad, they don't say I'm a Californian. They say I'm an American. They don't say I'm a
Yes.
New Yorker. They say I'm an
Yes.
American. Now they may
Yes.
say in a conversation with people, they get to know that I'm also a New Yorker. But when they go abroad, they say, but unfortunately, people of African descent, both on the continent and here in North America, we don't do that like the same way. And we've got to do that if we're ever going to achieve our rightful place and promote and protect our interests in this world that we live in, because nobody else is going to do it for us.
Absolutely correct. I love that. I like that. Everywhere we are. And it's really, really funny because the programming is so real. Because like I said one time on the show here, on the contrary, even when the Europeans, I've noticed that a lot in Europe, ask, are you from Africa? And Africans say, no, 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 no. I mean, they are so ignorant. They don't know that we come from, Africa is a country of 54 countries. I mean, like, they've already programmed us and we're just facilitating the disunity. And we keep even educating them now how disconnected we are. And you say, no, no, no. Yes, I'm a Ghanaian. African has so many countries. No, the language should be, I am African. Period. We should even be calling ourselves Africans. I mean, when I say Africans, I have a lot of like, where is Susan coming from? Or Bailey's coming from? Or Cheryl? Or Sinova? African. How are you? I see a brother, Ayuk. Listen, good afternoon, goddess. The black gods. We should call us who we are. And we'll be going, even telling them, no, I'm from Ghana. I'm from Cape Coast. No, I'm from this. No, I'm from Africa. I am African. This is enough. It's enough for us to get it back. But thank you so much. What happened? Because the issue is like, we're hearing this story. I'm from the continent, to be honest with you. That's why I pay so much close attention. We read books, but getting this direct source was impossible. Do you think that because of the assassination, the fear got into people, and that's why no knowledge or enough literature and knowledge was not, or they didn't continue this what he was teaching? Fear or what? Or we just went back? Oh my God. Yes, Kwame, I am African. Sign over. I'm African. We call ourselves Africans. When we say Africans, not just like Africans, like the global, you meet me, you say, hello, African. I know a lot of followers that when they write to our chat group, they're always like, good morning, Africa. They're not saying good morning, Pan-African Daily. Particularly from the continent, they greet us with good morning, Africa. So yes, we are. I am African. Wow, I love that. Baba, you're muted. It's okay. I love that idea, that example that you just said. In America, you can call yourself, we're New Yorkers, we're Californians, we're whatever. But when we are out, and it's true, and that's what makes this American, particularly the African Americans. Oh my God, I say all the time, we are saved, we are rescued because of you. You don't even know. I mean, somehow Europeans or other nations have that respect for what you've gone through. And so even migrant Africans, when they kind of like, want to get through, and they say, I'm African American, and they get some respect. Too much respect out here. But can you imagine that only us don't know? Only us don't really know. Because at some point in time, I think the battles that we went through, the challenges, the overcoming, or just the history too much. I mean, of course, your military base were located here after the Second World War, where Americans stationed his forces here. We can see even in Germany where they are located. Most of us are Africans, Americans, and that's how we even just, rub so like our brothers, our sisters, and they embrace us, and they're like, yes, we are one. So it's not today. We have to continue. What would stop? Why are we blackouting? We do understand that pain and the sufferings. I mean, I don't even want to understand it. Like, not out of disrespect, but when I think about it all the time, I just think exactly. We imagine what could have happened to the resistance on the continent. I had a conversation with one brother this evening who said he's also been a guest here, a very conscious African brother, migrant in our community. And he said he's been going through a lot of thinking and reflection, and he thought we are not the enslaved people. No, we were like the prisoners after the war that was launched on the Africans. And he's doing a research on it. And he like not just the prisoners of war, but they selected even the trade and the types that will come now, because what kind of enslaved people would come and work in the plantations? So when people after war, and like Professor James Bell, and how those days with their cannons and everything would kill the Africans, and so they brought now like the captives, those that were captivated from these wars, and then put them to work in their plantations and treated them like prisoners of war. So and he still went on to say, we cannot imagine. Can you imagine because there's no history really telling us what happened. The history is just telling us a part of it. But you can imagine what really happened after the resistance, after the fight, after the everything. And yeah, so too much respect. We do understand. Even if we're saying we use our mouth to clean our teeth with it, we are all one. There is nothing like we were sold. There's something like we were taken away. Professor James has said it. There was nothing. This history that they say we sold and made business, no, might not be true. That'll be. We don't do that. We're the only, I don't know if of his that sell even their children into that. Africans, pre-colonial history, we were pastorals, moving from one country to the others, walking with our cattle and that. When did we do that business? We would have started selling it amongst ourselves. Anyway, we learn from our past, fix it today, and take it into the future. We're not here to bore the ones. We already see a lot of things that are not even that people have been saying the world is even at a mess today than it used to be, isn't it? So those days were still even those glorious days, even though at every time we had to pay the price. Oh, yeah, Baba, you're back now. You're back. You're back. Tell us more. We are eager to hear, Baba. Hello. Hello. Baba Belly, you're unmuted, but you can't hear me. Hello. Oh, now. Baba Belly? Can you hear me, my granddaddy? Can you hear me, my elder? Oh, he's unmuted, but we can hear. It's been thrown out. Baba, can you hear me? I can't hear you. What happened? Are you hearing? Ah, boy, I think we're not lucky. Thank you, Brett Williams. Thank you. Thank you for greetings. Yes, yes. Baba Belly had shared that information with us. I think it's okay. The most important message, we recorded it today. We're going to be sharing it. You're going to be sharing it. You're going to put it into the book history. And I hope it's not only the recordings. I just wish there are young people there. I already have been talking to some young people in schools and said, take each of these conversations, write it down. You listen to the stories, you write it down so that we have paperwork on it. Okay, because we can write it down. It's not only just sharing it, they can remove it at any time, but write these stories. Baba, you already narrated. Somebody should go through and write the script. Are we here? Are you even hearing me in the chat? Are you hearing me? Or is not all of us are just mute? Sinovia, do you hear me? Aya? Efwa, do you hear me? It's as if all of us are just mute. Nobody's hearing us. Yeah. Oh no. The boys are going out, but I'm here with you. And it's just unfortunate that we could not really, yes. And as prisoner of war crimes, yes, exactly, of what crimes? As a matter of fact, that's it. Of what crimes? What kind of war crimes? Which war did we commit? Which wars did we even, start it off? Wow, 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 wow. Yes, the information is good. They've been kicking us out. It's okay. Like I said, I wish some people, when you're listening, you could record it, record the audios on your own servers. We never can know what will ever happen. And school kids, young kids, university kids, primary, they should listen and write it down. Write it, record it. Let's not sit one day and say, oh, we're pulled down, or we're no more here, and everything just goes. I mean, all of us have been. Save it on your servers. Download the videos, download the conversation, keep it in your particular, wherever, in your machines. If one day you don't see us here anymore, or we don't even appear again, right? So thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Like we said, we keep our hands crossed and pray for the world peace. We pray for ourselves. We pray for us to gain more knowledge, more courage. We pray for our consciousness, to be awakened. When we listen to these stories, like I said, he was just speaking, and I just imagine us. You see, this is the family tree like we used to have. We gather, and our elders would teach us. We can talk about the youth, we can talk about the future, but imagine if we're not tapping into these conversations. That's why I'm really, really focused on getting the elders, so we can get a lot of information from the elders and process it and pass it over to the next generation for their history, for their records, to keep it as archives, even if they'll have to sit down someday and just share these conversations as stories. But it's good hearing the stories from one of them, from their elders. Yeah, but I think he's there. We just say good night to one another. I know that you guys are already going out. Oh, Baba, on mute. It's to me going. To me. Let him come now, so you can go. Baba, are you hearing? We want to celebrate you this last minute and just share some wishes with you. Please type in the chat your wishes for Baba, and then I bring it up live because I think he's reading the chat. Can you be typing? No, we can't call his phone because he's using the phone to stream to us. Okay. Yeah. Baba Ricardo is saying, I hear you every word. Just type the comments. He's going to be reading them. He's trying to listen to us. Yeah, I really wish. That's what I'm also saying, Senoti. We really wish that, you know, we have to reach out. Baba Jume was trying to reach out to him to get someone, you know, I don't know, even Professor James called and wanted to send someone over, but he is also in a meeting right now to assist him. We have to assist our elders. Look at how he's struggling. Oh my God. Anyway, just type your messages. We're going to send it all to him because I'll forward the recordings to him. He has to save it. He will watch it. Okay. Thank you very much. I think this is, yeah, Ebuken, thank you for your message. Baba is just frozen. We're not really going to get him here. And he was struggling. You see, that's his ear. He was struggling to put his ear to listen to us. Okay, Baba, take him out. Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for the birthday wishes. And tomorrow we're reaching out to our community out there in the Ukraine, and so that we can find out the situation out there. How are they struggling? Where they're running to? What is actually happening? We just heard tonight on the news that the president of Ukraine is reaching out to the Russian president. Probably they're hoping that there could be some, ceasefire, sit down, talk out like big boys, like great men of our time, and just leave the world in peace. Let people live their life. After all, we're also going to pass away. Why do you hurry us out? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bland, for your donation. And you all donate. What do you think that we sit here and do? We work in. You all donate. What do you think? Have you asked me what I've eaten, what we've been eating here? Our brothers and sisters. Donate to us, okay? Donate to us. We're working here. Look at how I'm poorly dressed. I need clothes. I need non-makeup. I don't make up. I need to freshen my hair. I need to put on the smile. You need to donate. You need to support my work. You need to support our work. Family supports each other. We need to buy presents for Baba Belly. Send him some support out there. But anyway, thank you so very much. I'm very thankful that we're all here and that we could share this solidarity with our brothers and sisters worldwide who are in the conflict zones. I'm not even going to call any name again, whether it's they're dying there out there in the Ukraine or in Southern Cameroons or on the continent or anywhere or in the Americas, the Caribbeans. Who knows what happens? The missing girls, the missing children, we just been missing. We don't even know. Kidnappers, everything. We're just in solidarity and sending positive energy, prayers in every situation that we all find ourselves in. Okay, we don't know what's going to happen next. We don't know what is happening soon. We don't know what is even happening now. Those that are in the hospitals, those that are, we don't just know, in the prisons. Everywhere is just, wow, you look at it and like, what's going on? Is that the purpose of the Creator? So thank you, Kofi. I see you join us now. It's late, but thank you. Lachayan, thank you for wishing Baba a happy birthday. He's gonna hear all this. Kwame, thank you. He say, Ashe, Sister Efwa, my name. Thank you. Pan-African Daily TV is making positive contribution to Africa. Thanks. Thank you, Ebukun. Thank you. We're all one. We're all one. Yes, it's a great family meeting that we've been in today. Sitting in the compound here in the big village called Africa. Yes, that's who we are. Thank you. One love, Brother Paul. Thank you. Our prayers with all the people, whatever situations that they're going. Yes. Whatever situation you even are going through, we don't know. We must not always care about others. Like I said, we should also care about ourselves. Do we sleep well, wake up well? The fact that we're showing our faces here, typing, doesn't mean most of us maybe are going through some trauma, through some difficulties, bad day or bad mood at work, whatever. Something is always just happening. So we're remembering all of us ourselves. So it's not only those. Sometimes I even see those that have gone before us, they're resting. They're really resting. They're sleeping. You're straight. You're gone. You don't even know anything. You don't even have to worry about anything that is going on. But those that are still living and in terrible situations that they cannot even handle themselves, we're sharing you that love. Those that don't even see their loved ones, and those that are even into marriage. Some are married on the continent with wives and children, and they don't even see them and they miss them. And some are on work, on mission, leave their families behind. The pain comes in every way. It's not just a pain that we say, okay, now, oh, there's the war, as if our own lives. What about us here? What about us? Right? What about us now? It doesn't mean that the fact that you're contributing, you're all rich out here. All of us struggle to hustle every day, go out in the colds, in the winds, in the winter, in every tough times. We're all struggling. That's why the greatest is love. When we meet here, we just share with one another. Okay, we celebrate one another, we laugh, we cry, but we pat ourselves. Okay, so take care of yourselves. Take care of yourselves too. It's not only taking care about, bringing solutions to Africa, is bringing solutions to ourselves. Make sure that we're fixing our relationship. We're good with one another. Try the best that we can. Just try. And like our elder brother Malcolm passed on, all of them that have gone before us. One day it's gonna be our own turn. Sooner or later, who doesn't know? Who knows what? So the minute we get this time, we celebrate, we laugh a lot, we drink a lot of water. Did you drink water? Kwame, did you drink water? What in the sun? Okay, we'll be all in the sun people. Share love, share that doesn't matter where we come from. All of us are nobody is just sitting here and looking flashy. Let's standing. Yes. If you have, give to those that don't have, that you think they really need it. But keep some to yourself. We're not going to give it all. But don't get those big ones and keep it there, and the banks will be using it and making more money, and then we are not having. That one you should give, honestly. Because the more you keep, the more it becomes a problem. Money is a problem. Give it away. Give it away to those that need, and they take it and give it away, and they take it and give it away, and it's all a circulation. Okay. Yep. Go. I don't want to leave you, but at some point in time, I think you're out here, and I think it's afternoon out there to you out and dance and celebrate. Some people just sit down, some people just stay quiet where you are. Mama Bello has been teaching us that sometimes just pull back. Not about samba dancing and shaking our butts. No, sometimes we just pull back, drink a lot, think about it, breathe in and out. We've been dancing when we were young. Now we're even living we're in the middle ages and we're living into our young sisters and brothers and watch them enjoy life. That's all we can do. We give back. Okay, whether you're watching me on the continent, please, there is no situation that is different. Don't think that you see us in the diaspora, we're okay. This even, I don't want to say it. Just be happy with your life at whatever instance that you have. Drink a lot of water and breathe. That's what Mama Bello told us. Just breathe and drink a lot of water. Okay. Something when you speak truth to power at home, they all system encourage for safety. Don't worry, it's a whole entire universe. Make it where you are. That's home. That's Africa for you. Carry it. Okay, Ebukun, don't worry. Whether we're fleeing for safety or we're doing what you where you are, share love, share happiness, make every out of it. Okay. I'll leave you guys because it's so weird. I want to say something and then the next minute I'm jumping out. But why not? Like we say, if we're silly doing nothing, which we must not always know about some deep stuff or learning our history. What about us? What happened to your calls? We're so attentive, serious, and so getting times. I want to get some call. Paul Brown. And you, when you're not partaking in the economy, is fierce. Remind me, Malcolm is speaking truth to power. That just saying died long ago. You heard him. We uploaded all the speeches. He said he died long ago. So what is in the court? Speak truth to power. Even at any point. Okay, you'll be remembered. Is remembered for it. Okay, we see ourselves again tomorrow. We wish to get into contact with our communities out there. We might be earlier on Saturday, so we can do a road show. It should be 9 a.m. or 12 p.m. here. We want to get Maponga on live. Maybe he'll be on the road or something like that. Baba J also had promised to be with us, but make it this evening. Let's just see what is going to happen. But if not, I wish you all thanks a lot, laugh a lot, share with one another. Okay, we see yourselves again. Make sure you've been subscribing, so when you hear that Pan-African is live, you just jump in. Doesn't matter what is going to be happening. So good night to all of us. We see us again tomorrow.
You are watching the Pan-African Daily TV with Dr. Susan Tata. The Africa we want: unity, consciousness, our culture, our spirituality, our history. One Africa for Africans worldwide. Motherlands calling its diaspora home. Join my voice. Join my team. Join my campaign. Campaign 21 hashtag 1 million subscribers on the Pan-African Daily TV YouTube. Be a volunteer. Apply now. Be the new Africa.